Welcome once again to the Party of One podcast, the actual play RPG podcast where the gaming table is always set for two. I'm your host as always, Jeff Stormer, and this week on the show, I am joined by Dora D. Rogers for a game of Alchemistresses. Alchemistresses is a tabletop RPG designed to let you play out a season of a magical girl anime. Players take on the role of everyday teens going to high school and dealing with all the shenanigans that ensue, but there is something very special about these particular teens. They are the magical reincarnations of very powerful beings from the ancient past, the mistresses of the five elements, the Alchemistresses. The world has forgotten who the Alchemistresses are, and they have forgotten who they once were and what they could do, but the world needs them again, and their magic starts to return along with tantalizing glimpses of their past lives. Play Alchemistresses to find out who you were then, who are you now, what are you willing to give to save the world, and by the way, who are you asking to prom? Y'all, I really love this game. This game is special and genuine, and a love for the genre drips off of every page. I cannot recommend this game enough. I had so much fun playing it. I really think you're going to hear the absolute beaming joy that comes off of the entire game that we played. It's really something special. You can find more information about Alchemistresses at galpalgames.itch.io or check the show notes for more information. And with all that said, let's go ahead and throw it over to me in the past so that he can get started with the show. Take it past me. Thanks, future me. I am so excited, genuinely so excited to be sitting down with Dora D. Rogers. Dora, thank you so much for coming on Party of One.
It is my pleasure, Jeff. Good to be here.
I told you this before we hopped on mic. I was so excited to be playing today's game. Why don't you take a moment to let our lovely listeners at home know about what we are playing this week, as well as anything else you've got going on that you might want them to know about.
Absolutely. So we are going to be playing Alchemistresses. This is a game that I designed along with Allison Kyron Cole and Michael Marcotte. It came out last year. It is a game about, it's about magical girls. It's about teenagers who are magical girls. It picks up on the theme in a lot of magical girl anime about having a past life, having an other self, slowly learning things about that. It really zooms in on that aspect in particular of Sailor Moon. It's very much a game about feelings. It's a game about queerness. And we love it, and we're really excited. I think in terms of what we have going on, the biggest news is that Alchemistresses recently, in the past, when you're listening to this, was nominated for both a Crit Award and an Indie Groundbreaker. I think the Crit Award ceremony is tomorrow, so we're still fingers crossed for that. We're really excited at the response the game has gotten. It's just as a designer, it's amazing to get that recognition because you don't expect it. You know, you're just focused on the game, and then you sort of put it out there, and 6 months later, when you see something like that, you're like, wow, somebody saw what I was doing. That's incredible.
It's an incredibly gratifying, it is a validating feeling. I have extremely complicated feelings about awards, but also I recognize the second that you get that sort of recognition, it is genuinely a motivating thing. There's a lot of complicated things to unpack around it, but you can't deny that feeling of oh wow, this is a moment of real recognition, and that in an industry that is often, this is podcasting and games alike, it is often making messages in a bottle and firing them off and hoping someone finds them. Having a moment where you can definitively say that someone found it and appreciated it is worth its weight in gold.
Yeah, absolutely. Well said. And, I think that awards, it's just that really all creativity in this space deserves to be recognized. So it's it is always weird that, that there are nominees and there are people who don't get nominated, and there's winners and people who don't win. And then of course there's so much that goes into why that is. And there's, factors that aren't really fair or great that affect the recognition that things get. I think one reason why I was really happy with those two awards, the Indie Groundbreaker and the Crit Awards too, is just that they, to whatever degree they succeed, they are both in particular, I mean, the reason that we got recognized by both of them for sure is because they're organizations that are specifically setting out to be let's recognize indie voices.
Right, absolutely.
So, yeah, that I think that you're absolutely right that it's like there's a lot of weird stuff around awards, but when they function in that particular way of like indies trying to find avenues to lift up indies, I think it's like it's a cool thing that some people are doing.
100% agreed. All right, so let's go ahead and let's make us some magical girls. I've been reading through everything. I'm so excited. So I'm gonna hand you the wheel. Go walk us through the world building and the character creation, and then we're gonna kick off an episode.
Great, perfect. So Alchemistresses was sort of designed with the intention that you're playing with 3 or 4 plus a GM. So we're gonna be playing around a little bit. I have some ideas for what changes we're going to make to make sure that it is perfect for a party of 1. So I want to start, and I want to do world creation pretty quickly so that we can get into the action.
Yeah.
So the way that Alchemistresses works is that there is a present world where you are sort of an ordinary teenager. It's like a slice of life. It's very inspired by anime like Sailor Moon or Wedding Peach or anything, any anime like that, where you have these people who are magical warriors. They're also teenagers, and they need to balance those 2 identities. Now, we have definitely had games where the quote unquote present world wasn't actually mundane at all. We've had games where the present world was set on a starship. We've had them where it's set on a like glamorous island. So it's not always that mundane, but fundamentally it's about ordinary people being sort of ordinary teenagers. So the first thing we're going to do is talk about our school, our real world. So first of all, and Jeff, I'm gonna put you on the spot to help me out with this.
Yeah, please.
Where do you think our school is? Like, what kind of community is it in? Is it in like the city, in the country, in the suburbs?
I'm gonna throw you 2 and tell me which one you're more excited by.
I'm so excited.
There's 2 kind of extremes that I kind of want to pull on that like both pop into my head. One being where I live now, and one being like where I actually spent my teenage years.
All right.
Are we more excited about the idea of this being in like extremely large, extremely busy city, feeling a little bit like animated New York, a little bit Spider-Verse, a little bit like big city?
Yeah.
Or are we more interested in extreme, almost like fading away in time small town? Like, what's the energy that more grabs you as you hear these 2 options?
They're both incredible. Let's go. I spend most of my time in cities right now, so let's go small. Let's go for like, I love the way you put it of like almost fading away rural.
Yeah.
Say more about what you mean by that, because it's very evocative, and I think I know, but like
it's like a small town, like where I grew up, and this kind of stopped being the case like as the town sort of reinvented itself. But like for many years, basically my entire childhood, the town that I grew up in was a friend who also lived in the same town like once described it as like the modern equivalent to a dying 50s coal mining town.
Yeah.
Where it was the kind of small town where businesses didn't necessarily stay open, not just because like people were moving away. Like, it was a town that for a lot of my childhood was fading away. Like, it was people were leaving, there wasn't a lot there, and it just like this small town that like is undergoing this sort of shift that happens to a lot of towns of that size, where it's simply there's not a lot to keep people there, and if like over time that affects the makeup of the community itself.
Yeah. Okay, that's incredible. Do you think that there was like, I'm trying to think what kept this community together that's gone? Is it like, do you think there was a factory that closed?
I love a good closed factory, especially because that gives us a good evocative set piece.
Yes, it does.
What do we feel like? Because I to foreground a little bit, I have a just skip ahead for 30 seconds to a future question. Like, I have the briefest thought on what I want the how long ago was the past section to look like.
Oh my.
Or at
Okay.
least like the most recent iteration of the past to look like. So I want to ask, like, what pops into your head as like a dominant thing that would have been in the town in the 70s or 80s? What's a vibe that would have been like front and center in that kind of a thing? Like an auto plant, that feels like an 80s energy.
Yeah, that's a very 80s energy. I love an auto plant. Let me put that down. It's I've been like rewatching Stranger Things lately, so as soon as you said 70s or 80s vibes, I was like, yes, yes, yes.
Cause like, admittedly, where my head was at was I was like, it would be very fun to frame the past present interaction as, you know, this is a cycle of reincarnation. This is a thing that has happened many times, and that the most recent round of it was very literally a 70s or 80s anime that we are now seeing the next generation of. Like, the fact that that was 40, 50 years, or the fact that was 30, 40 years ago means that we are primed for, like, that to be, to the cycle to have been reborn. And I think that's a really fun hook to hang the.
Oh, that is really intensely good. Okay, that's perfect. I'm into it. Yeah, I love that this is a great example of the ways in which that is like a very pliable boundary, this idea of like the past life. We've had it be sort of like, oh, it was millions ago. It was like an unfathomable amount of time ago. We have, there's a really good setting that Backer helped us come up with actually in the book that is about like it's basically like there used to be the Federation of Planets, but it fell apart. And nobody really knows why.
That's so sick. That's really sick.
Yeah. So there's a lot of yes. This is a great example of the flexibility that the past life, present life divide gives you. So love all of it. All right. So keeping focused on our school, just briefly.
Yeah.
So we've talked a lot about the community. So what is the school itself like? Is it, I think definitely there would be an association that if this town is fading away, they probably have limited resources. Their facilities aren't really great. Like, does the school hold to that, or are they rising above that somehow?
I want to throw in, I think what I want, is like largely the school is struggling with the same thing, but there's one inexplicable area where the school is thriving, and I don't think it's I think it's too easy to go football.
Absolutely.
My actual high school, like it was the theater program was elaborate, and that's a fun angle to pull on. But I'm wondering if there's like another one area where the school like is front and center despite everything else kind of falling a little bit by the wayside.
Yeah, that's a really good one, and as a former theater kid myself, I'm very open to that. The other possibility I'll throw out, and this time I'll ask you to choose, like thriving theater program or thriving, what I guess the term would be 4-H program.
That's really fun. Like, that's fun also because, I mean, I grew up in farm country, and like having like a thriving farm club energy is really great, especially if like that. And so like I think I want to go 4-H because going awesome. Like farm club activities, like the cow, like the town or the school cow show is a massive event that the school year is built around.
Yes.
That rules.
Incredible. Okay. Very good. One final question about the school. Of course, we'll talk more about it as we go, but one initial question. What's the mascot of this school? Is it cows? Sorry, you said school cow show, and I was immediately like, cows?
It's a little bit stranger than just the cow. Like, I think that I'm going to say it's the Minotaurs.
Oh, yeah.
Because I think it was originally pitched as the cows, but they felt like that wasn't cool enough.
Yeah, the principal at the time was like, come on, really? Like, the cows?
We can't be the cows. We can't be the cows. Everyone will make fun of us. Minotaurs?
Okay. All right. So for right now, that is we're going to fill in a lot more details about our present day
Right.
world, of
Love it.
course. But now that we have a little bit of a basis, let's talk about our past world.
Let's do it.
Gosh. Okay. So you've already given us something really good, which is that it was actually really recent. It was like 40 years ago, 50 years ago, in that range. So it's literally like the last generation. Like there's people alive who it's within living memory, basically.
Yeah. Which I really love.
Yeah. I think my first question is just like, what did magic look like back then?
What did magic look like back then? Very flowing is the word that I'm gonna go off of. I'm pulling a little bit on like the aesthetic of 70s and 80s animation and anime.
Yeah.
To say like flowing, but in a practical way, it's a lot of beams. Is I guess more act like is the bluntest way to kind of describe it. Is like it was and pulling on that thread. It's very visible. It's very tangible. You can see who is casting it. Like it's coming from a person. It's coming from an outlet. It's hitting a target. It's having an immediate impact.
Great.
So it's very visual. It's very impactful. It's very opaque and tangible, right? Like it's pulling on this idea of like an 80s magic beam animation. Like it's that all of those things are kind of what pop into my head.
That's incredible. I love it. Do you have is there a specific anime you're thinking of as a touchstone, or specific animes?
The animes that I'm thinking of, I'm thinking of the original Sailor Moon, Funimation, Donuts and Cousins edits from Toonami back in the day. Not to date myself too much, but the ones that we're playing. But also like alongside of that, a magical girl anime in all but name. I'm thinking a lot about Ronin Warriors. Like that's the thing that's jammed in my head. So like it's got that Sentai kind of like aesthetic to it, and like kind of similar beats. Those are kind of Gem is the other one that really kind of jams in my head. Like, and those three things like that, those aesthetics are very prominent. And then when I think about beams, the Care Bears also admittedly pop into my head of like a big rainbow effect. And like they all four of these things kind of exist in similar spaces in my head of like effects and animation. So those are kind of what's cooking in my head.
That's okay. That's perfect. Yeah. When I tell Allison that we mentioned both the Care Bears and Gem, she's going to be beside herself. This is Alchemistresses as she is played. This is how it was meant to be.
I'm so happy. I'm so happy about this.
That's incredible. So one question is, given that this was in recent memory, like I assume that people in the town aren't like, I wonder where those magic women went, right? Like what is the urban legend about what happened, whether or not it is true?
The urban legend, whether or not it is true, is I'm laughing a little bit that this is where I thought about. I'm just gonna throw some visuals out to kind of blend it together. It's a mix. The two visuals that pop into my head when I envision this are the Spider-Man cover of Spider-Man No More with the costume in the trash and you see him walking away. And also the ending of Grease when they drive the car off and it flies away. Those are the two things that pop into my head, and I think that the actual urban legend that comes from that is they literally, like the Alchemistresses, after they saved the world and defeated the great evil, the legend is that they walked off into the sky. Like the legend is their magic formed a bridge for them, and they walked off very literally and overtly. They walked off into the sunset. Like it is a bridge of magic opened in front of them, and they strolled off together into forever.
Awesome. Okay. Very cool. So there's this star. Just let's just treasure this, right? Like there's this town that's sort of run down, where there's sort of this story about like, oh, there was all those strange goings on in the 80s. Those like, magic women walked into the sky, and then it's probably like, well, come on, obviously that didn't happen. Like, what are you even talking about? And people will be like, yeah, no, it's it's just a goofy story. But then like, if you catch somebody in the right mood or on the right day or whatever, they'll be like, I don't know, I saw things, like.
Yeah, it's that mix of like, and it's that mix of, it's a like any rumor in a small town, right? Like there's any rumor, anytime you hear about a cool thing in a small town, your instinct is to be like, that's not a thing that happens around here.
Yeah.
Right? And then that mix of there's just enough people around town who stayed in town and never went anywhere, who are just old enough to like be in a position to hear that and go, oh no, I was there. Like I was 18 when this all unfolded.
Yeah.
I can't tell you I can't tell you what it was like to be in town when there were monsters in the street, magical girls fighting them. And then to know that they just rolled out their own red carpet and walked away.
Right. Yeah, it's very cool. And something I love about it is like, the thing I love about this being in living memory is that it's both like, it sets up this dynamic of, this is a place in the margins in a lot of ways. Mm-hmm. And there's probably a degree to which this is not taken seriously by people outside the community. And then, also like, there's like the town's legacy is actually falling apart, right? Like there's probably a lot of witnesses who aren't here anymore. They left at some point, just like the magical girls did.
And that's kind of probably what spurs like not taking it seriously is that like, there's not a, for better or for worse, there is not a consensus that is able to back you up, right? Like if you are the person who moved out of town and you're talking to your friends about where you grew up, and you bust out the story of the magical women that walked off into the sunset, there's not going to be a second person there to be like, yeah, no, I was there. Like, that's what the 80s were like. So it's just going to sound like you're just spouting nonsense.
Yeah. Okay, one more question about the past.
Yes.
For now, at least. What did evil look like in the past?
What did evil look like? I think, again, pulling on a lot of these same sources.
Yeah.
Very, very big. Big and extra are the two words that really pop into my head. Like, this, evil in the past, it was very monster animation, right? Like, it was very... it was very overt. Like it was not a subtle thing. If a monster showed up in the streets, it was a street shark. Like it was not a thing that somebody would look at and not immediately register. That's a fucked up thing. All right, cool.
Cool. Okay, amazing. So just like crazy monsters emerging, and and then glowing women shooting beams at them, and then and then they walked into the sunset, and 30 years later, people are like, it happened, I was there. And people are like, sure, pull the other one.
Yeah, like, because like that's, and I think that adds to it that the monsters are also so like physical and visceral. Like it's this sense of like, this is unmistakable is how, like, this is a like, you will remember this. The people that were there, the people that saw it, this is not maybe I misremembered it, maybe I'm imagining it, maybe, this is the magic of youth. It's like, I saw Frankenstein. Like, there's no getting around the fact that was a Frankenstein. This rules. I'm so excited. This is great. It
extremely rules. Okay, there's a movie that, like, this is making me think of, and I'm blanking on what the name of it is. It is the movie where a woman goes home to her hometown after her, like, I think a breakup. And she realizes that when she stands in a particular place at a particular time, a giant monster shows up across the world in Korea.
Fuck, yes. God, it's got Jason Sudeikis is in it.
It does!
Oh, yes.
I saw something with Jason Sudeikis recently and was like, what else has he been in? And I was like, oh, that great movie. Okay.
Yeah,
now with that connection, Colossal. It was called Colossal.
Colossal. Yes, I'm so glad that I don't know why that I don't know why that's the thing that hooked me into that, but I'm glad that we got there.
Great movie, if anybody's listening. Colossal, with Anne Hathaway, actually.
That's who the lead in, wasn't that? I was trying to pinpoint it. I was like, is it Kristen Stewart? But no, Anne Hathaway, similar.
That was her phase where she needed to prove it to everybody that she was a grown up now. She just did a ton of really different roles. It was an interesting moment for Anne Hathaway fans. Okay, this is awesome. I'm loving everything we have about the past. So let's turn then to character creation.
Let's do it.
And so I have sent you a doc that we can use to keep track of things, sort of a digital character sheet.
Yes.
And we will start with the present. So the first thing that we'll do always the first step of character creation, and there's sort of a different tone to it because we only have one player, is that if we were playing with 4, everybody would choose one of the 4 cardinal elements: earth, air, fire, water, the classic elements. So you can pick any of those, and I'm also going to open up another possibility, actually.
Please.
Which is that an element that is sort of built into the game that often, but not necessarily, comes up is the Mistress of Spirit, which is sort of the lost or mysterious mistress. And I think it's appropriate that that is added as a choice, given that you're going to be playing by yourself, because very often in a magical girl anime that mysterious figure would be the one who's operating by themselves.
That feels like a good option. I like that a lot. That is the one that I think I want to go with, because that is, if you are the lone person trying to do this, I think that is kind of the energy that I want to pull on. Is that this is somebody realizing that their place in this is important, and that feels good. Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. I love it. All right. So we're gonna go through this character sheet sort of point by point. Some of the items at the top, like name, pronouns, age. Well, first of all, for age, we're in high school, so this can be anywhere from 14 to 18. We don't necessarily have to start there, though. A place where we often start is with what are called convictions, which you see are these 3 things that are labeled personal goal, greatest fear. They are important. So personal goal is each of these will be stated basically as a sentence, right? And personal goal is the thing that drives you in your daily life. It's a lifelong dream, or at least sort of a medium-term goal. It could be something that is relatively abstract, like I want to prove myself. It could be something really specific, like I want to save up enough money for a car. In general, the scale of this, usually if we were playing a full game, it would be something that we could do in sort of a season, right? In 12 sessions or so. But it could be smaller than that. Just not something you're going to walk out and immediately accomplish.
Pulling just the thing that's popping into my head that I'm putting down is I want to get into music school with my saxophone. Yes. I admittedly just spent a lot of time watching TikTok videos of people's saxophone solos, because sometimes you fall down a rabbit hole.
Oh yeah, sometimes you watch saxophone solos on TikTok, and
so in my head I'm like, that's the thing that is pulling me in this direction. Is I'm thinking that my character, I'm gonna go with she/her pronouns. Lovely. That feels good.
Great.
I'm gonna say that she has a saxophone and is an aspiring saxophone player.
I love it. There's something in particular about maybe this is being a child of the 90s and picturing Bill Clinton, but a female saxophone player, there's just something special about that. They're bucking the trend. She's bucking the trend. It's worth saying, since it is briefly coming up for listeners, this is language that Allison added to the game, and I really love it. Magical girl is a job description, not a gender. So it is perfectly fine in Alchemistresses to have characters who are not she, her, not girls. So that's just wanted to put that out there in case that's important to anybody. All sorts of people have relationships to femininity in some way that can be very important. So next up we have your biggest fear. And this is the thing that they're most afraid of, right? So this could be something like very specific, like, it could be like, I'm really afraid of spiders. I'm really afraid of the kid who bullies me. I'm really afraid of the dark. It could be something really abstract, like I'm afraid of letting my mom down. I'm afraid of ending up like my dad. I'm afraid of disappointing my sibling, like whatever it is.
I am saying my greatest fear is that my best isn't good enough in every and any capacity.
Okay.
Like, it is the fear that I could do everything right. I could hit all the notes, and it still might not be enough in whatever context I think that is. In whatever context I'm applying that to, it's that fear of I could do the thing and it just might not work. Like,
Yep.
you can play the perfect hand of cards and still lose.
Yep. It's a very, not just an adolescent feeling, but it is a very adolescent feeling. Just like, maybe I'm just not good enough. Great. And finally, we will do They're Important to You now. So this is an interesting one, and it changes in a one player game, because usually this is done to intentionally create a web of relationships. So this would be a relationship specifically to another alchemistress. We don't have another alchemistress. So this is just somebody who in your daily life at school is really important, looms really large. For better or worse, right? It could be your rival for valedictorian, the person who got first saxophone over you in band, the band teacher who you are really inspired by, the person you have a huge crush on, the teacher you're absolutely terrified of. But it's somebody who really defines it's just one of your most important relationships at school and in the world.
I had to write this down first because it was my wording was very specific. I'm writing down, I don't have a name, and I'll throw it to you if you have a name that you want to drop in. This is my rival mance, my girlfriend who I am always competing with in music. We're both musicians, constantly competing for first chair. She makes me so happy and also pisses me off. Affection.
Oh my god. Okay.
There's something very wonderful about two type A lesbians, who are I love you. You're the love of, you are at this moment the love of my life. Fuck, I hate you right now.
I'm fanning myself right now. It's so good. It's overwhelmingly good. Okay, yes, we will come up with the name. Do not worry about that. We'll get there. Okay, so I'm gonna pass lightly over the next one because I want you to have some time to think about it. So the next thing on the sheet is transformation phrase. This is incredibly important. This is what you shout out loud in character in order to transform into your magical girl self. So traditionally, not always, but very often, this is an elemental pun. I probably should have warned you about that before you picked spirit, but here we are. There's plenty of good spirit ones, don't worry. Just take some time to noodle on that. Anytime when it comes to you, you can jot it down. It can even be after we move into gameplay, but just make sure it's ready when you have to transform, because in Alchemistresses, you cannot transform without shouting your transformation phrase.
I've already got it. Admittedly, I thought about it, and I thought about this character. I'm gonna make one slight edit to it. It is a play on spirit. If the spirit moves you, I'm actually just gonna make the reference. If the spirit moves you, let me groove you, and then the saxophone plays and she becomes a magical girl.
Yes. Okay. Yep. That's it.
It plays on rock and roll. It plays on spirit as an element. It plays on all of the things. That just feels good.
It's okay. Yes. Great. We're good. I'd actually, a tie. I'm really loving a tie between music and spirit. That is a great place for us to be. Okay, stats. You have a resolve, which always starts at D8. Don't worry about that yet. Mind, body, spirit. So one of these is going to start at D4, one at D6, one at D8. Higher is better. So mind is like, these are, they'll probably be pretty familiar. Mind is generally about like cleverness, mental acuity, and like book learning. Spirit is very much about charisma, willpower. Body is about physical capabilities, not just like raw strength, but also toughness, physical dexterity, athletics, etc. And it looks like you know what you're going for.
I do. I'm going back and forth on if I want to flip mind. D6 is body, but I'm going back and forth if I want mind or spirit to be the D8. If I want this to be more of a rock and roll front woman or more of like a classical, I've memorized the books and like done my studies style of like the style of saxophonist is what I'm pulling on here.
Yes, I love it.
I'm gonna stick with my first instinct that this is a little bit. Nope, I lied when I said I'm sticking with my impulses. As I was describing, like I hit the books, I studied everything, I'm classically trained. That's just a fun dynamic, and I want to lean in that direction. So I'm going D8 mind, D8 6, D4 spirit.
Okay, great. And then one other thing that we're gonna do, and then we are done for right now with the present. Is you have 3 boxes here: home life, school life, social life. So basically we're just going to write a sentence in each of these, which begins with like, at home I, at school I, with my friends I. And this is just like a statement about, your life in those 3 places. Just to add a little bit of meat onto these bones. It's what we call the bio section, biography. Yes. Home life, I study and study and study, and if there's time, I study. School life, I am a shark, and there is blood in the water, which is the best description of school I've ever heard.
I do a lot of studying.
Yeah.
Because at school, I do very well, and I do not let anybody take that away from me. I am only welcome at the record store if there is someone who can drag me out of it after an hour.
Great. Okay, lovely. Oh my god. Okay, and then the last thing is that we need a name for this character, often the hardest part.
I'm gonna go. I am going. Susanna Clarence is her name.
It's a lovely name. All right, past life.
Let's do past life.
So, starting right at the top. So one of the central themes of Alchemistresses is remembering things about your past life. At the beginning, you do not even remember that you are a reincarnation, that part of you is still asleep. You have grown up thinking you're a completely ordinary teenager. So you'll notice there's not a name field. There's just something that says Mistress of Spirit. And at the beginning, you do not even know what your magical name was. Given our setting, you may eventually figure out like, oh, I was this person in these old yearbooks. But that's not really going to mean anything to you right away.
Right.
For the past self, we have convictions as well. They're slightly different. We have primary cause, deepest regret, and they were important. And the thing that's interesting about these, they're very similar. Like in you can see the parallels. But the difference is that like you lived more in the past, right? Like you may or may not ever have gotten past teenagehood, given that you had to fight monsters and walk off into the sunset. But you went through a whole struggle. So your primary cause was like whatever it was that as a mystical warrior moved you and motivated you to the fight.
Right.
Your deepest regret is over the course of your whole life, your whole struggle. What was the thing that you most wish that you could have done differently? And then they were important is going to be like who, it's just like who was your most important relationship back then?
And someone who was important. All right. So my primary cause is revolution. Rise up and fight together for a better world. My deepest regret is that tying into that and sort of flowing from that, the world wanted a hero, not a common cause.
It's really good.
And the person who was important to me, and I was thinking about this as I was thinking about this character before recording, like this idea popped into my head, is that this is my bitterest enemy, who is also like my one true love now and forever.
Wow.
That subtle theming is one that I was very excited about, in a space that I kind of want to play in, of like, I might not like that. This might be a moment of reincarnation for both of us.
But who knows? Perhaps there are parallels between these two lifetimes. Yes, I love that. That's very good. So your victory phrase is the inverse of your transformation phrase. It's what you say once you've won in order to transform back to your everyday self.
I'm writing down, let this moment radicalize you. The spirit of rebellion never dies.
Oh my god. I hope Jess Levine is listening to this episode.
That phrase goes out to you, Jess Levine, my wonderful friend.
All right, so your resolve, I didn't highlight it, but your resolve also starts at D8. Actually, so your resolve will always be the same across like both characters. And then for this, it's going to be we have the same mind, body, spirit, except that the bottom gets promoted one, right? So that
perfect.
The lowest is going to be a D6, and then a D8, and then a D10.
Then I'm so glad that I went with the options that I went with, because that means that my mind drops to a D4, my spirit drops to a D8 for my past self, which feels exactly in line, and also means that both of those character concepts that I was pulling on get to be in play at once, and that's sick to me.
Oh, that's incredible. No, but actually you get to promote one level, so you can start at D6 and then go up.
Or I could start at a spirit D10 if I wanted to.
You can, yeah.
I'm actually going to bump up my body to a D8. I feel like my past self kicked some ass.
It is actually like you still have...
Is it only one of the two?
You have D8... Gosh. You have D10, D8, D6 to play with. That's how it goes.
Oh, D10, D8, and D6. Got it.
Yes.
Okay, I see. I thought it... Got it. Then yes, that feels good. Okay, then that still feels great, because that still means my body's a D8, and that means that my past self did still kick some ass.
Yes, indeed, she did. I'm still going to use... Do you think you're still going to use she for the past?
That's a great question. I'll go she, they.
I love it. Cool. And the thing that you've done, just to make it clear for people, is so your present self, your highest stat is mind and your lowest is spirit.
Yes.
In your past self, your highest is spirit and your lowest is mind, which is just chef's kiss. There's been some changes across time and fate. Okay, we have one last thing to do, which is a spell. So you're going to start play with one spell, which is just a way that you can manipulate the elements. We always like to shout out that we have an incredible section of the book with sort of a full guide on creating a spell that was created by Sharang Biswas.
I was literally just reading this beforehand, and I saw that Sharang had written a thing, and got like, it made my entire day, especially because this is a phenomenal breakdown of what a spell could be. The spell is conceptually narrow, practically broad, and is alchemy. I think I have written down, I have mastered fire into fight, pulling on spirit and the alchemy transmuting elements themes in particular. Fire into fight is wounds heal and people find superhuman durability. It is, we are beaten, we are battered. This is a spell that says we are coming back stronger and ready to fight in a way that we could not before.
Awesome. Something that I love about this is the idea of a solo character with healing capabilities is it's thematically rich, right? It's like, it really emphasizes like this is a part of a whole in a way that is really wonderful. This is something that's meant to operate in a context. Okay, incredible. And we are now ready to jump into play. There's some more things that we are going to introduce as we go. And given what we've set up, like, I think that there's definitely no better setting for the first episode of this anime, the beloved revival, the much anticipated revival of a beloved 80s classic, than the 4-H fair, the cow show. It's the cow show.
The cow show, sure.
So here's my question for you to set us off. I think that let's give your rival Mance the name Amanda. I'm feeling
Amanda feels good.
So my question for you is, did you get the solo in the band performance in the cow show and Amanda is furious, or did it go the other way around?
I think I want to be furious first. I think in this instance, Amanda has first chair. Amanda has the spot, because I think that like seeing that dynamic from the perspective of I'm watching this woman I love like do a thing that makes me angry is very good.
Okay, perfect. So so it is the we're not going to pick up with you on stage quite, but I think that probably what it is that the school is out. It's been out for a little bit, so that people had time to like go home. Parents have time to come home from work, and tonight is the big cow show. I'm sorry. Is there such an event as a cow show? Is that a specific thing? You'll have to educate my city mouse self.
We had brief Mount Holly, New Jersey anecdote. We did not have a cow show per se, but we did have a farm fair.
Yes.
Which was like the full carnival experience. There were games and things. The cow tent was very often the main event of the farm fair. So like when I emphasize when I describe this as like there are tents with award-winning cows in them that you literally just walk up and down and look at a cow, that is a real thing that happened. It was not called the cow show, but that's a real thing that I did a lot of. Is
there like a blue ribbon for the best cow?
Absolutely, is a blue ribbon for the best
cow.
There are like, if I remember correctly, it's been a few years. There are awards, but there's a blue ribbon for the best overall cow. There are also specific awards for like largest cow, friendliest cat. Like
absolutely,
there's a bunch of secondary awards as well as the blue ribbon award.
Okay, great. So I have one other very important question for you, which is that like, do you consider yourself of course, like one of the highlights of the cow show at this high school every year is the naming of the cow king and the cow queen. Are you in contention for cow queen? Like, have you been campaigning, or is that just like you could never? Like, it would be an honor just to be nominated.
That's such a good question, and I have to think about this. I think what it is specifically, it's, you know what it is? Actually, this is simultaneously like a sweet moment and a funny moment that I think encapsulates our relationship. Amanda and I have both been campaigning very aggressively for Cow Queen, with the knowledge that if we win, that given that we are a known couple, that if we both get enough votes, they might just declare both of us queen. But also with the knowledge that like, if they decide to only go with one of us will have to win this.
Extremely good. Okay. Oh my God, the rival mance never stops. Shout out, by the way, we're giving some hints of Butter Princess. So just shout out to Butter Princess.
Shout out to Butter Princess.
Yeah, also nominated for an Indie Groundbreaker and won the Best Graphic Design. I pulled up their itch really quickly to confirm which award it was. Great. I think that you are, you're probably in your band uniform, I imagine, because you have to perform tonight, but you have time. You know, it's like the the band performance is one of the sort of like the big highlights at the end of the show. And I think this event is actually called the Cow Show, and it, everybody acknowledges the cows are what people are here to see. But there's also carnival games. There's there's food stands. It's people are showing up. There's probably some other contests too. There's different like agricultural contests. There's like a pie making. Probably at some point today there was like a hot dog eating contest.
Oh, there's undeniably a hot dog. There has to be. My Philadelphian heart will not allow there not to be a hot dog eating contest.
Perfect. Okay. So, in fact, let's pick up with you and Amanda and some of your friends walking in, including the bright young man who came in second in the hot dog eating contest this year, who's a good friend of yours, and he's got one more year before he graduates, and he knows next year he's going to take first. What's this gentleman's name?
This gentleman's name is Rodney. Rodney is his name.
Perfect. Okay, so I think like Rodney's really feeling himself today, because he basically it's like an Olympic athlete who was like, well, I wasn't going for gold, but I beat my personal best. Like he's basically like my I'm on track to meet my goals. So yeah, you Rodney and Amanda are pulling up, and I think that Amanda. So the energy is that like Rodney is Rodney's feeling himself. He actually is really hoping that his crush is going to talk to him tonight. And Amanda's also feeling herself. I think she's riding high on getting the solo, and she's kind of like as you arrive at as you walk onto the fairgrounds together. She puts a hand on your back and she says, sweetheart, I just want you to know that, like, I hope that you know that it's just an honor to be dating the Cow Queen.
And I think, like, feeling the hand on my back, I narrow my eyes. Hey, over in the tent, there's a bunch of cow shit. Can you eat some of it? And then I immediately like I give like the biggest scowl, and then immediately go in for just like a quick kiss of like I think it's our rhythm.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. Oh yeah, she's very pleased. This is a good comeback. You're playing the game well. She turns to Rodney and she's just like, actually, I think eating a bunch of shit would be more your area, right, Rodney? And he's distracted. He's just like, what? Listen, I don't have time for this. Do you see Brad? Do you see him?
Do I see Brad? I think there's a moment of like almost being annoyed that he didn't catch that, and then the second Susanna like hears, do you see Brad, like peeks up, kind of does a little bit of like a prairie dog, like posture straightens, like Brad.
So you do see Brad. Brad is like, I think Brad is, I'm trying to think of like, so Brad is kind of popular and kind of a square. Like that's the energy. I think maybe, you know what it is? It's that, Brad is the treasurer of the student council, the person who didn't get elected because he's super popular and everybody loves him, but got elected because he campaigned hard and people were like, oh, it seems like he'd actually be good at it.
Brad brought a PowerPoint to the student debates, and people were like, well, he made a PowerPoint. Like, that's more than anybody else did in this election.
Yeah. And so I think the thing is that Brad is actually very busy organizing this event. And is currently with like was busy organizing this event. You know that this has been like Brad's jam for the last few weeks. And now Brad is just kind of lounging at the volunteer table with a few other student council members who are like have all put in their work. Things are now running well, and now they're waiting to see where they're needed. And Rodney turns to the two of you and is like, okay, I need to talk. I need to get my time alone with Brad, right? But there's like 4 people with them. I can't just walk up to a group of 4 people and talk to them. Like, you have to help me.
Done. You done. Okay. Amanda, how much time do you got before you got to be on stage?
Oh, me? Well, I honestly should probably go warm up now. I do have a solo.
Drop the bit. How much time do you have before you need to be on stage?
I have 20 minutes.
Okay, great. We'll give you 10 minutes for actual warm-ups if you give us 10 minutes for hijinks. I'm
in. Let's do it.
All right, magic. And yeah, I think you know what it is? I'm pulling more on the rival man's angle. I think that like as we get closer, I think Susanna just leans over to Amanda. Competition argument. Good.
Yeah, absolutely. So she's like, she smiles like a cat who ate the canary. She's totally in.
All right, good. And I think that like we get over there and immediately start arguing about like who can hold a note for longer, like on the sax, just loud enough to get people to start taking, like we're getting just deep enough into it so that people around Brad start taking sides.
Okay, perfect. So I think this is going to be our first roll. So the way that this works is, so this sounds like a spirit roll to me, which unfortunately is Susanna's worst stat. So you're going to roll a d4. You want to roll high. And I am going to set the difficulty. I just need to pull up the little thing that tells me how to set the difficulty. I think that this is going to be a... yeah, we're gonna make this. This isn't going to be too hard. It's so you're looking to get above a 2, so a 3 or a 4, which unfortunately for you with your d4 is still a 50-50 shot.
And I rolled a 1, so that's not great.
Oh, but hold your horses. I'm gonna discount your roll because there's a few complexities to throw in here.
Okay.
The big thing being that you can upgrade this die roll for free. If you can tie it to one of your convictions.
Okay.
You can also, you're going to start the game with 3 alchemy points, which you can see written up at the top of your sheet. Yep. You can spend one of those to if you can connect anything on the sheet that you're looking at right now into this, then you can upgrade again, right? So your home life, your school life, your social life, basically. If you see a connection between any of those things, I'll let you spend an alchemy point to upgrade the die. So you could get up to a D8 that way.
I am going to spend, I think I've got 2 upgrades. I've got 2 upgrades.
Okay.
No, I'm not going to save my alchemy points. I'm going to go with 1 upgrade, upgraded to a D6. I am a shark and there is blood in the water. My reputation is such that, like I have the reputation of going at people. This is a thing that Susanna has done before. So I think that there is an element of people are not surprised to hear that I am launching some ill-advised contest with my girlfriend.
Perfect. I love it. Okay.
That's a 6. We're good.
All right. Yeah. So no, this is amazing. I think that what really gets people here is it's your reputation, right? Because everybody's kind of like, oh, Susanna's getting intense again. Like Amanda's winding up Susanna again. Let's go check it out. And people are like, I think people sort of like good-naturedly, like the argument goes against you, and the crowd's kind of like, oh, come on, like Amanda has the solo, but it's all good-natured, right? Like if anybody thinks you're actually getting like really upset, they kind of back off. The people are ribbing you, and sure enough, you see in the background that Rodney just kind of sidles up, and Brad is definitely like, oh, hey Rodney, and they wander off together while you two are having this argument.
There is like the briefest moment. There is a brief moment where Susanna sees that, like, gestures almost imperceptibly to Amanda, and they both kind of like raise their eyebrows and have a moment of like mutual glee. And then we actually have to play the saxophone and see who can hold a note for long.
Who holds it longer? I won't make you roll.
I think I hold it. I think building on the rivalry, like this is my turn to win a thing.
Yes.
I think just like through the cosmic nature of things, I think I hold it a decent, like I hold it longer by just like long enough that, you know, like just long enough, like a hair longer, to where there's some debate of like, that didn't sound like, that sounded like it was empty air, frankly. I don't know if that was actually holding the note. But I think I've won this one by a hair.
Yeah, no, fair enough. And I think that like that Amanda is very good natured about it, so everybody, you know, politely applauds. She gives you a kiss on the cheek. It's like vibes of like the princess kissing the hero who's just returned home. So the group sort of breaks up. The people who are running the event they do actually have jobs to do. Maybe one or two people are like, where did Brad go? But you know, whatever, he's gone already. And Amanda's like, okay, seriously, I do have some. The band leader said he wanted to go over something about the solo. I'll see you up there.
Of course, I'll be. Well, I have to decide. And I'll ask you this: Am I in the show or am I in the audience?
I think you're in the show. You just don't have to show up quite as like the.
Got it.
You have to. You still have a little time till you have to show up.
I think I pop up and I'm like, of course, I'll be backstage cheering you on.
All right. Bye, sweetie. And she. Do kids call each other sweetie? Bye, babe. I don't know.
I think sweet, like. Sweetie feels good for these two in that it is either affectionate or condescending.
Yeah. Bye,
in
sweetie.
a way that is romantic.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah. All right. So she goes off, and I think before you move on, your eyes are sort of caught by somebody who's hanging out around the edges of the cow tent, not going in and taking in the bountiful splendors of the cow tent. This is like it's an older woman, somebody that you know, right? Because you know, at least by sight, most of the people in this town. It's somebody who, like, I think she, you know what I think she does? I think she works at the gas station. She's like the checkout clerk at the gas station. And I think she probably has like a little bit of, maybe kind of like a rough reputation or like a sad reputation. I've just been watching Stranger Things, and I'm sort of thinking like Winona Ryder's character in season 1.
For sure.
Where people are kind of like, oh yeah, she seems a little, she's kind of like lurking. She's lurking, right? Like that. I think that's the verb. Like she's standing outside the tent, not going in, and she's watching everybody who goes in kind of darkly, right? Like maybe even like she's not wishing them well, perhaps.
Yeah, I gotcha. I think Susanna isn't immediately doesn't necessarily go over, but I think kind of goes back to chatting with people, but is very notably kind of keeping an eye more out of curiosity than necessarily worry or concern or suspicion or anything. Just that it is peculiar, and I think that's kind of what has caught Susanna's eye.
Yeah. And I think that as you're keeping an eye out, there is a moment where I think it's your principal. So your principal is I didn't give this woman a name. Let's call her Joanna. And your principal comes over to talk to her, and your principal is a woman about the same age as Joanna. And her name is, you don't call her by her first name, but her name is Ann Silver. Ann Silver, Principal Silver, comes over and talks to Joanna, and I think pretty clearly is kind of like, hey, cool it. And then you are able to see this like pretty quickly escalate into Joanna shouting. And I think what Joanna shouts that a lot of people hear and turn to see is everyone just wants to forget. Well, that's fine. And then she storms off, and she happens to come your way. And I think she doesn't necessarily stop to talk to you, but she shoots you a dirty look because she knows that you were giving her the eye. She's pretty observant.
I give a scowl, like I give one a very notable, like, what are you looking at, scowl kind of back as she walks by, and then I kind of look over in Principal Silver's direction.
The thing is, Principal Silver actually seems a little shaken. I think that you vibe with Principal Silver. She's very type A. She's very, like, got all of her ducks in the row. She really approves of you. But she's kind of shaken, right? It feels like everybody's kind of waiting for her to say, like, to just say, like, oh, like, everybody go back to your business, or, like, everything's okay here. And she doesn't. She just stares after Joanna. But she does, she has enough presence of mind that she saw, like, this kind of harsh look exchange between you and Joanna, and she walks over to you after a long moment, after sort of, watching this other woman leave. She comes over and she's like, are you all right, Susanna? I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, are you all right?
That's so sweet of you. Yes, of course I'm fine. Joanna's just, I don't know if she's been drinking or what, but she gets to thinking about the past sometimes, like we all do, and, well, she's in a mood tonight, that's for sure.
Cow show will bring that out in people.
Yeah, it will. It will. Your uniform looks great. Do you have the solo today?
No, I'm in second chair in the chorus number. Thank you for asking.
And yeah, she smiles, right? Like she's not setting you up. That was an honest question, but she's kind of she knows what's going on here, and she's just like, well, I'm sorry to hear that, but I'm sure that you and Amanda fought hard and fair for the solo, right?
We gave our best, and the judges made the decision that they made, and she gives a look to the left and look to the right, and Amanda's amazing and incredible and blew everyone out of the water, myself included, and deserves a spot. If you tell anybody I said that, it will be war.
Mom's the word. I think she looks quite touched by this, actually. She smiles. She zips her lips to show that she will not share your shameful confession. And she just says, yeah, go ahead and enjoy the fair. So you have a little time to check out the cows naturally and to catch up with people.
Gotta see this year's lineup.
And I think that there's one thing you notice as you're checking out the cows, which is that I think you hear some of the farmers talking about it, actually, like the people who have brought their best cows here. The cows are like, and this happens before your eyes. Like the cows are getting a little agitated, it's like a big day. There's a lot of noise and the crowd and the energy. So, the cows are usually like not quite at like baseline, but there's suddenly a lot of mooing. There's a lot of stamping of feet. People are sort of the cows rather are milling about in their areas. You hear some of the farmers sort of like almost like looking around. Like somebody's like, oh, there's going to be a storm coming tonight, probably. Like they pick up on that kind of thing. And somebody else is like, I heard a dog bark. I'm sure it was a dog. But some of them are kind of like, I'm not so sure. I think you're kind of making that up. But nothing happens, like nothing goes wrong. And then it comes time for you to head over to make sure you're backstage before Amanda's solo starts.
And I I think I am backstage. I'm there. Like the show is just starting to get underway, but I'm constantly like looking. I'm imagining like this is a fairly open tent, so it's easy to do so. Like I'm looking off in the distance at that cow tent, looking back, looking at Amanda, looking at the cow tent, scanning the crowd for Principal Silver, just kind of looking in every single direction.
And I think that absolutely. And there's definitely like it actually feels like I think even people from the like you can hear the moos from here, and even people who are like in the audience, some of them are sort of glancing over at the cow tent periodically. But the show must go on. Amanda takes the stage. She lifts. She smiles. There's polite applause. She lifts her instrument to her mouth to start playing it. And then all of a sudden there's like a crash, and you can tell that something's wrong. And the cows somehow are out, or a number of them are. And there's just like a flurry in the crowd as a number of cows. This is not a stampede situation. There's not like a Lion King giant herd of cows, but the cows are sort of spreading out in different directions. And suddenly there is absolute chaos, right? Like the show is completely forgotten. People stand up from the audience and the folding chairs that are set out and the lawn, and they are running to see what's going on or running to help. The volunteers are running around like crazy. Brad and Rodney are still together. You see them running, maybe looking a little disheveled after one of the cows. And somehow, as this is happening, more of the cows are getting out. And you see one. They're actually like, it's actually kind of scary. Like the cow is kind of really throwing itself against the enclosure until the enclosure collapses, right? Which is not something that anybody counted on. Like this is not like a permanent enclosure at all, right? It was just supposed to keep some nice, calm cows in place. And you see another cow right before your eyes break its enclosure down and go running. And yeah, all heck breaks loose. Like there's a lot of screaming. Everybody in the band around you is standing and running to see what's going on. What do you do?
I think in this moment, there's a moment of hesitation of like there's almost of a moment of grief of I want to watch the person that I love do the thing that they're very, very good at. And I hate that this moment is being ruined, but I think it is washed over with a sense of people are in danger. People are going to get hurt if someone doesn't do anything, and due to the extraordinary circumstances of my current situation, I might be the only person that can adequately manage the situation. So if the spirit moves you, let me groove you.
Great.
I take the saxophone, hold the saxophone in hand, whisper my phrase, and we get to work.
Okay, amazing. I'm going to, I will actually make sure to send you. We have music for transformation phrases in transformation scenes in Alchemistresses, which were made by a very talented musician named Lindsay. I'll send you that so you can edit it and post. You hear it right now, right? It's picking up as we talk. What does this transformation look like?
The thing that is extremely important is the like beams of magic emit from the saxophone. It is peak semi-animated music video of like there is magic and energy flowing from the saxophone. It swirls around and it forms the beams of magic that emerge from the sax form my magical girl outfit. They come kind of wash over me. It is very billowy, sort of like in its design. It's kind of, if you imagine the aesthetic that pops into my head is sort of almost like half goth, like the Lolita, half punk rock almost. A little bit like short skirt, leggings, boots situation, but like all of the fabric, the skirts, the sort of shoulder billows are very elaborate, and we watch sort of the magic wash over and sort of like billow and swirl to form these sorts of flourishes as everything is washed over and the costume takes shape around me before finally like there is a burst of light. And I am standing there, the saxophone, which has now been rendered going full Jeff Stormer and pulling on my favorite material, full iridescent metal, so it shines like a rainbow. Yes. In my hand as I kind of twirl it and lock it on my back like a sword.
Oh my god.
And go to action.
Perfect. Yeah, this would definitely be the moment in the episode where you go to help, and then the camera sort of lingers, and we see, that's funny. The stage is empty. Where did Amanda go? And then it's like, cut to commercial.
Oh no.
Come back. So I think that there isn't. I think that as you get closer, you see that you hear screams, right, and different screams, right. People were surprised when these cows, broke out, but now people are starting to see what the cows were apparently reacting to, and I think what this is, I think it's a minotaur.
That feels good.
Yeah, and it is coming. I think I'm picturing this in like like we're in a field around the school. The school's sort of in the background. This is just like a big convenient place for this event to happen. And there's a line of trees, and it seems like this creature must have come out of the line of trees, but it's just like a weird amount of distance for it to have covered, like a slightly weird amount of distance for it to have covered without anybody seeing it. But where else could it have come from, right?
Yeah.
And we talked before, like the thing about these things is that they're visceral, right? So this is a visceral creature. It is like, it's 8 feet tall. It is covered in hair. It has very human eyes, but they're very big. And it has like huge horns. And these horns are like they're weathered, right? Like they don't seem like they just grew. They seem like this animal this creature has been walking around and using them to knock things aside and scratching them on things. I think that it's like it also has a smell, right? It's not a very pleasant smell, but for people who grow up around farm animals all the time, for people at the cow fair, it's like, it doesn't really stand out. But there's definitely there's an animal smell, right? There's something very visceral. And it's just very big, it's very broad, and it's very clearly angry. It hasn't done anything violent, but it gives off an air of anger and of menace. And it is just striding towards this gathering of people. It's kind of deliberately, right? I think it feels kind of inevitable. It's like, it's not that it's like so fast. It's like that thing is really there and it's really coming at us.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, what do you do?
I think that we get like a really great shot. I almost envision the Minotaur like emerges into the far end of the cow tent, so that we can get like really great animated Sergio Leone Good, the Bad, and the Ugly showdown image. Susanna is standing at one side, the Minotaur at the other, and I think kind of doing I think that she 2 fingers out on each hand, the visual of like a lot of her magic takes shape, and it's conducting is what I'm envisioning. And magic kind of like emerges from the ether around that. And I'm going to cast a spell to calm the cows and like get everybody moving, like get everyone out of here safely so that I'm alone with this Minotaur and whoever has brought them here.
Brilliant. Okay, yeah. So, what stat? So this is one where it's like a little less clear what stat that would be than before. What do you? How do you think you were calling on this magic? Like, is it something from your charisma, your mind, your thinking, or is it like a physical thing?
I think this is mind. I feel like this is like a mind spell of like, it's less that I'm like actively inspiring people, like I'm not tapping into that part of my being, but I'm like pulling on my knowledge of the situation and my surroundings. Like it's very active mind and so like it's very like I like this is my priority, this is what I got to do, I got to follow a playbook and get everyone man, person, cow, and like out of here.
Okay, awesome. So the is there anything that you want to apply to this to upgrade the die? So at this point, because you're transformed, we're now looking at your past character sheet, not your present. So is there anything on your past character sheet that you want to apply? And you can use your convictions to upgrade for free if any of them apply.
Remind me, my convictions are my primary cause?
Yep, and deepest regret, and they were important.
Because I think that my primary cause of revolution, like, fits here in terms of getting people to, like, act in unison. Like, there's a sense of, like, spurring a sense of action to get people to overcome fear here that I think works.
Yep, that's perfect. I agree completely. So you can upgrade your mind to a D8 in that case.
Then that's exactly what I'm going to do. What am I rolling for?
Oh here? Yeah, great question. This is, I think that, okay, so this is we're now officially in a conflict, is what we call combat, right? Because it's not always in magical girl terms necessarily like a fight per se. So in a conflict, what you were trying to do, conflicts are about resolve, right? So your enemy here can choose to leave at any point, but the way that you knock them out is by taking their resolve to get out of the fight, right? Resolve is the equivalent of HP. So there's basically like two things you can do on any turn, you know, in addition to like just sort of, you can do whatever you want. But the two central mechanical actions that are unique to conflict are lowering resolve, like attacking your opponent in some way, which doesn't have to be a physical attack, or like creating a condition, which basically means you're creating a character or the environment to sort of like create something that you can use. And I think that's what this is, right? You're creating a condition of sort of like cleared or like safe. In the area around you.
That feels good.
So
that feels good.
For that, in this case, I think you're going to roll against a D4 again.
All right. Well, that's a 7.
Okay, so that's easy. Now, before we move on, there's one other thing we have to do, which is that whenever you take an action as a magical girl, you're also going to roll a memory die.
Okay.
So, to start with, your memory die is a D6. So go ahead and roll us a D6.
That is a 1.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so the memory die starts at a D6. The size of the die can change for various reasons. And anytime you roll whatever the memory die's current value is, if you roll the highest value or the lowest value, you unlock a memory from your past life. So right now, really all your character knows about your past life is what's on that character sheet, right? You know you're the Mistress of Spirit. You sort of remember like, yeah, I was fighting for revolution. I had a bitter enemy, right? Like that's all you know. And you know your spell. But you're about to unlock something new, something that you didn't know before. You get a flash of your past life. And because you rolled a 1 rather than a 6, this is a bad memory. This is something negative that happened in your past life. So you obviously don't have a lot of context to know what that is, but this is just an image. Like, what do you think the image is that flashes into your head?
The image that flashes into my head as I clear this environment, I think as I stare down this Minotaur, I'm seeing people walking away in different directions. Like, it's sort of this like very quick panoramic shot of people walking, you know, of like five people walking their separate ways. Somebody's walking down an alley. Somebody like hops a fire escape and starts climbing a ladder. I mean, it's just 5 people going their separate ways.
That's perfect. Great. And I'm going to then give you a condition to reflect that this is a bad memory. So this is something that your opponent here is going to be able to use to roll against you. Mm-hmm. And the condition that you're going to take is alone. Because you're sending everybody else to safety. And that means that you have to face this thing by yourself.
That feels good.
Cool. But you do succeed. So what does it look like as this spell guides everyone else to safety?
I think what it looks like is there is this scene of panic. There are cows thrashing. There are people running. And, you know, this musical energy, like, washes over, like, a handful of the farmers. And they, like, lock eyes with one another. And they kind of start doing their sort of nonverbal communication with the cows, who, like, we also see calm down. Like, people are doing, like, the thigh slaps and the snaps. And, like, there is, like, a clear moment of connection between man and animal as, like, farmers are commanding things, and then just people, like, just start leaving. Like, the scene empties out, but we see this clear moment of, like, everyone immediately click together, and then, you know, go off and run in separate directions.
Yeah. And since one of our themes is that, like, we know that people remember these things and they know these things, like, I think that we're seeing like, there are shots of people where it's like, even as they're sort of acting in unison, they're sort of like, what's happening? This is odd. You know, they're aware, they're sort of comforted by your magic, but they're also very aware that something very strange is happening. Both in that, you know, a huge minotaur appeared, and in that they are suddenly able to coordinate in this unexpected way.
That feels great.
So I think that the minotaur, you know, is having its good, bad, and ugly face-off with you. And I don't think it attacks you right now. It definitely, you get the feeling it probably will. But I think it, you know, it observes what you're doing. It looks around. It sees this magic billowing out. And I think what it does is it laughs. It's this very, like inhumanly low sound that you can feel in your chest, like the bass of a speaker at a concert. This like, like it's amused by your efforts to save everybody else. And it doesn't think much of them. I think that's all it does for right now. That's the only explicit action that it takes. But this Minotaur friend is basically rolling an attack against you to demoralize you, to make light of your contributions and your strategy. So you get to roll a defense against this, since the Minotaur is targeting you directly. And basically, it's the Minotaur is going to roll its spirit, which is not great, I think. And it will roll. Well, what do you think it's rolling against? Like, how do you think you try to resist that effect of being demoralized?
I think pulling on... I think this is a little bit of, like, past and present fusing a little bit of, like, nobody laughs at Susanna Clarence. Like, I am, like, I run this goddamn school. And I think that, like, this mistress of spirit being this, like, this inspirational figure of, like, holding the world, there's a clear moment. Oh, Dora, I gotta pull on the greatest anime shot of them all. Split frame down the middle,
yes.
Past side, one side, present side, other side, as we both say, nobody laughs at me, and I'm gonna resist with spirit.
Okay, so go ahead and roll your spirit. You can upgrade as normal if you think it's applicable. The Minotaur is gonna upgrade its die because you are alone.
I am going to. I'm gonna keep it where it is. I got a D10. I don't think any of my stuff applies here, so I'm gonna keep where we're at. Should have upgraded. You know what? A 1's a 1. It can't necessarily beat that, so it's all good.
What's amazing is that the Minotaur rolled a 6 on its upgraded roll.
Woof.
So, so I think the Minotaur at this point this is great actually for me, showcasing the game, because the Minotaur is basically trying to make you just give up, right? Like the Minotaur wants you to leave, get off the scene. So the Minotaur is targeting your resolve directly. So we're going to get to see how that plays out. And the way that works is that so your resolve takes a hit. So currently your resolve is at a D8. Let me actually, sorry, double check I wanted to make sure I tell you exactly the right thing here. And then you roll the die listed on your resolve tracker. Okay, great. So the way that this works is your resolve is currently at a D8. So go ahead and roll a D8. And basically you want to not roll a 1. If you roll a 1 on this, then it has demoralized you and you're going to have to do something to stay in this fight.
Okay, so I'm rolling a D8?
Yep.
Great. Where's my D8? Here it is. That is a 4. We're good.
We're good. So it's fine. Like you absorb the taunt. You're fine. But your resolve does go down to a D6. So next time you'll roll a D6 and have a slightly worse chance of not rolling a 1.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But it is your turn again. So what do you do next now that the people around you are safe?
I think I'm going to go after this. I'm going to go after its resolve directly as well. I think I got to trash talk it. Like, I don't think that there's another way to... I think that it's that it is legitimately just, nobody laughs at me, and it's, hey, cow pie, how about you spend a little bit less time wandering around tents and a little bit more time polishing those horns? I've seen my grandma's gramophone has a nicer coat of polish than that, and if you knew my grandma, you know that was a much worse insult than it sounds out loud.
Oh my god. Yeah, go ahead. I think this is spirit.
That feels good. This is I'm trying to decide if I want to up this at all. Yeah, I think I'm going to up this with, so can I use the items on my present self sheet, or is it strictly on my past?
Strictly on your past, actually, yeah.
Okay, well then in that case, then I'm gonna keep it as a 6.
Great.
And keep it as a D10, and I've rolled a 6.
Okay. And once again, the Minotaur is resisting with spirit, which is not great. Yeah, so you definitely land. So the Minotaur is pissed, basically. Now, point of order, meta question, Jeff, because we've gone a little. We're at an hour 45, which I'm conscious of.
Yeah, we can we'll wrap this. We'll do a cliffhanger and then we'll call it.
Okay, that's perfect. The cool. All right, so I'm gonna roll for the Minotaur. Oh, and by the way, you get to roll another memory die. Once again,
fantastic.
At D6 before I figure out what the Minotaur does.
No, that's another one.
Oh, I love that. Okay.
Oh, I know exactly what the visual is. It is, I'm leaning, I'm on my knees. It is a ruined parking lot. Cars are smashed and demolished. And I am looking in a puddle of, like the reflection of a puddle of gasoline that's got that kind of rainbow sheen.
Yeah.
At the silhouette, there is like a monster defeated behind me, but I am looking at a silhouette through a puddle of gasoline.
Excellent. Ooh. Oh, that's good. Wonderful. I'm going to, I'm going to give you another condition. And that condition is going to be, what's appropriate to this is, do you think, this is reading into that vision, but what do you think of betrayed?
Betrayed I was almost about to suggest that as the word, and I'm glad we're on the same page.
Perfect. So the Minotaur, I rolled the Minotaur's resolve, which is a D4, to see if he gets knocked out instantly. He doesn't. But his resolve now goes down to a D2. So every time he's going to take a hit from here on out, he is going to have a 50-50 shot of immediately going out of the scene. Now, do you want to wrap there on sort of like teasing the Minotaur's next action?
We can knock this Minotaur out and then leave it. Because I think that I have a feeling we both know what's going to happen after this Minotaur is defeated. That I think is a good.
That's ridiculous.
Could go in any number of directions.
So the So the Minotaur will now take an attack at you. And this is just a physical attack. Like I think what happens here, the form that him being demoralized by your taunt takes is that he's just losing his cool, right? He's like, well, how dare this little magical being stand up to me, like as if it could possibly stand up against me. And we see just like the classic, like sets the one foot, like runs the back foot, the other foot through the earth several times as though that will somehow make it go faster. And then just like launches at you horns first. This is just a straight out charge. And the Minotaur is attacking you with body.
I am going to also defend with body. That's a D8. I am going to up it once because I think that this is I think that I'm gonna up this twice. We're gonna spend an alchemy point. Once because this is a moment of actually my free one is actually my deepest regret. The world wanted a hero and not a common cause. I think that this is almost a moment of this is again another like past present almost schism moment because I think that this is a moment of Susanna exerting and being like, well, then if they need a hero, let's give them a moment of being a hero. Like it's almost we're pushing past this regret and then leaning into the cause of like we're gonna do something inspiring to show people that we can fight together. Great. So there's this like decisive moment of like jumping up, grabbing the Minotaur's shoulder, doing a full flip over to kind of dodge it, to thoroughly dodge it. I am rolling a D12 here. Come on, don't let me down now. That's a 6. All right, that's all right.
Okay, and what's amazing is that Minotaur rolled a 5. So
all right, we'll take it. We will take it.
So what does it look like as this Minotaur is just charging full out at you? What does it look like as you avoid that attack?
I think it looks like I do this flip up. I'm gonna come down on the Minotaur's shoulders. And we are going to break, like, I flip backwards to kind of do, like, with my legs around its neck, do, like, a backwards head scissors.
Yes.
And as that happens, leaning into the Revolution inspiration angle, the Minotaur is large enough that, like, it rips down the top of the cow tent.
Yes.
So now it is immediately visible that I am standing down against this Minotaur.
Yes, great.
And I think that the people that have not fled now see this around.
Yeah, there are people like now like at a safe distance watching, and I think we see definitely like Principal Silver watching, and there's gasps and applause, right? Like people are like, oh my god, you know. I think there's like the inevitable comedic moment where like we see somebody say like, is this all part of the show? And like Principal Silver's like, oh, maybe that will fly with people. Maybe we can make that stick. But yeah, so you are now sort of like astride this Minotaur and it's your turn. What do you do?
And I'm hopping to my feet, holding a hand in the air. I mean, this is spirit magic, so I'm leaning into it. Like a rainbow microphone appears in front of my mouth as I say, like, "You're farmers, right? Get some rope and tie down this cow."
Oh, I love this! And then
I'm attacking with spirit.
Okay, awesome. Gosh, what is this Minotaur? I think this Minotaur is going to resist with mind. Because it's like it's now got to evade a bunch of farmers trying to tie it down.
So I'm attacking with spirit. I'm going to increase this once as I am fighting for a revolution. And I really want to roll this D20. I got to decide what that's going to look like. You know what? As I say all of that, I think that like, I mean, this is still like a scene where like some calamity happened.
Yeah.
After I say, tie down this cow, fire into fight, and I am conjuring my spell. while you're in a fight as people find superhuman durability to combat this Minotaur together.
We see these like the farmers and even like the kids, right? Like because these kids, a lot of them like have grown up on farms. The 4-H club like is thriving at the school. They all like they feel physical vigor, right? Like they feel powerful. And there's a ton of ropes around because this is a farming event. And people charge forward and they're all around this Minotaur.
And my roll is upping it twice to a D20. I rolled a 9.
Okay. Okay. All right. So let me think about this. Okay. I think basically we're good here because the Minotaur's mind is a D6. It upgrades once because if you're alone, right? Like you still, you aren't fighting, even though you're calling it the community. You're supposed to have other people around you, and you can feel that. But even there, it's an 8. So I'll just roll it, and it's a 3, just for pro forma. So, okay, now let me roll this fellow's resolve. So I'm just going to... It's a D2, which is just a coin flip. What I'm going to do is roll a D4, and a 1 or a 2 is a fail. Oh, and it's a 3. So he is still technically in the fight. So... I think that what that's going to mean, I think this is the end of the fight, right? Like he knows he's beat, but because he goes out with his resolve intact, I think what this looks like is instead of being brought to the ground, a few people, like somebody gets a bunch of ropes are thrown near him. People are using all of their skills. Somebody gets a rope around one of his horns and he gets sort of like pulled to the side, but then he pulls viciously back with impossible strength. And I think picture like a farmer being held by like three girls from the 4-H club, and they go flying and like fall down in the dirt, and the Minotaur goes just like charging through the crowd quickly and powerfully enough that nobody can stop it. And I think that like the one farmer gets in the way, and the Minotaur just like backhands him, and he goes flying. He's fine, just bruises, but it's like it's a moment where everybody gasps because it's scary looking. This Minotaur runs back into the woods where, as far as anybody knows, he came from. And you win the fight. Now, there's one thing we do before we move on, which is, once again, you get to roll a memory die.
That's a 4.
Okay, so if nothing happens, what would happen, you probably won't have another roll. If you did, next time you would roll a D4, so you'd have slightly better odds of getting that memory. And you are left standing in this crowd, and everybody applauds. Everybody is, like a hero just led them together to victory over this creature.
And there is like I think there is a decisive moment where, busted out my victory phrase, saxophone into my hand, like holds it into the sky and says like, let this moment radicalize you. The spirit of rebellion never dies. And gives a salute to the crowd.
Yeah, there's definitely like, it's so fun. Like I'm just picturing like, definitely like, what would you do if somebody said that to you? I mean, you or me might go like fucking nuts, but probably not everybody does. But they are right now. They're feeling it. Like even people who are like a little more hesitant are like, yeah, heck yeah, they're clapping. Sure, yeah.
You know what? Sure.
Does Susanna just appear in the middle of this crowd? Like, does everybody know that this figure is Susanna? Or does she sort of like appear somewhere nearby, maybe?
I like reappearing nearby.
Right.
Here's what I'm gonna. I think if I can pitch maybe 2 moments to end this episode,
please,
that I think are 2 big beats almost immediately. Susanna appears nearby, is like crouching down behind maybe the funnel cake truck. Like appears, is crouching, looking around, looks up just in time to see, do we think it's Joanna or Principal Silver is like waiting exactly where she's going to reappear?
Oh my God. You're first of all, you're picking up what I'm laying down. I think it's Joanna. I think that Joanna is there. I think that she's actually like got like she's got like a brown bag that almost certainly has alcohol in it, and she takes a swig of it, and as you reappear is just like, heck of a show, kid.
I have a feeling we should talk about some things.
Yeah.
And then the final shot is like as we stand and look at each other, we see off in the distance and we see holding her saxophone Amanda, and there's like a red gleam, like her eyes flash red.
Yes. And one further detail, there is just a flicker of light across the saxophone as an iridescent sheen fades away from it.
Hell yes. Good. And that is game. Fuck yes.
That was incredible.
I'm so happy with this. That was incredible. I am overjoyed. Thank you for playing this with me. That was a delight.
That was an absolute delight, Jeff. Thank you so much for having me on and for the game. That was a blast.
I am delighted. This ruled so hard. Real quick, before we wrap up, where can people find you, your work in the game online?
Oh my gosh. Well, people can find us online at our teensy little imprint, Gal Pal Games. Let me actually look up the itch account that we have. Come on, itch. Come through. That is gal-pal-games.itch.io. That's where you can find Alchemistresses. You can also find another game that Allison and I made together, Denial and Yearning. You can also find my personal work at Queen Regnant on itch. Excuse me, that is what my newest handle. I am dcity on itch, so it's at dcity.itch.io. And but you can find me on Mastodon at queenregnant.lgbt.tech. So much harder than explaining my Twitter handle, but I left Twitter recently.
Understandable. It's a sensible decision, a good decision, a fair trade-off.
Yeah.
This was so amazing. Thank you so much for this. I am over the moon with this game. This was fantastic. And now I'm going to throw it over to me in the future so that he can wrap up with the show. Take it, future me. Thanks, past me, and thanks again to Dora for coming on the show. That game, that was such a perfect encapsulation of all of the joy that comes from the Magical Girl genre that, like, truly listening to it, I was just beaming from beginning to end. You can hear the joy that I have on mic, like, during the game. You can hear it now. It just was a really, really wonderful experience. Be sure to head to galpalgames.itch.io to check out Alchemistresses for yourself. And then, I mean, if Twitter is still a fucking thing, then while you're on Twitter, follow us at Party of One Pod. Like us on Facebook at facebook.com/partyofonepodcast. Find us on TikTok at Party of One Podcast. Find us on Tumblr at Party of One Pod. Subscribe to our newsletter at buttondown.email/partyofonepodcast. And join our Discord community at bit.ly/partyofonediscord. If you enjoy the show, there's a lot of ways to support it. You can support us financially at patreon.com/JeffStormer or Ko-fi.com/JeffStormer. You can give us a nice iTunes review, shout us out to a friend, give us some love on social media. You can buy some Party of One merch at bit.ly/partyofonemerch. Or, if you're looking for more great podcast content, you can check out All My Fantasy Children, which is a character creation, storytelling, and world-building podcast that I make with my best friend in the world, Aaron Catano Saez. We take a listener-submitted prompt and spin it into an original fantasy character, populating a shared universe one story at a time. You can also check out Yazeba's Bed and Breakfast, which is an actual play about a heartless witch, a cozy house, and the many people making their homes inside. Both of those you can find wherever you get your podcasts. Party of One is, as always, produced and edited by Jeff Stormer and Jen Frank. Music for the show comes from the song Infinite Lives by Mega Ran featuring the D&D Sluggers, and the Party of One logos by Evan Rowland. If you'd like to inquire about advertising rates, coming on the show as a guest, or about press coverage of the show, you can email me at partyofonepodcast@gmail.com. And, unless I am mistaken, that is all we do here. So until next time, thank you so much for listening. Remember to fight the forces of fascism every single day. Remember that self-love and self-care are radical and defiant acts of resistance. And as always, party on, everybody.